Some of the Iranian missiles that have breached Israel's Iron Dome have caused extensive damage. During such emergencies, Israel often deploys a specialized military search and rescue unit. CNN's Jeremy Diamond shows us how they responded to a recent missile strike in a suburb of Tel Aviv.
Air raid sirens in Tel Aviv these days can mean only one thing: another barrage of Iranian ballistic missiles. For these soldiers, it also means being ready for what comes next.
So like millions of others in Israel right now, we are in a bomb shelter, but we're with the elite rescue unit of the Israeli military. These are the people who are going to be going out and trying to rescue people should any of those ballistic missiles, which are now flying overhead, actually make impact.
Minutes later, the team leaders head straight into the command center. Reports of strikes, interceptions, and falling debris are pouring in all at once. Lieutenant Colonel Golan Landsberg needs to make sense of it all and determine whether and where to deploy his team of specialists.
Look like either falls in open areas or interception.
So right now you're trying to assess whether those two potential impact sites are worth your team going to and providing your expertise.
Yeah. By this time, we should have seen all the pictures, movies from scenes,
right,
or reports on casualties.
So even that open source information from social media is being fed into your systems?
Oh yeah. Look like.
So that's it.
This night, it's back to bed. But the next morning isn't nearly as quiet. 4 ballistic missiles have broken through Israel's air defenses. Lieutenant Colonel Landsberg decides to deploy to a strike on the outskirts of Tel Aviv.
So we just arrived on the scene of this ballistic missile strike.
The scale of the damage is stark. A single missile has shaved off the side of this building, partially crushed another, wrecking cars and shattering windows for blocks. Colonel Landsberg and his team immediately push into the building, going floor by floor, apartment by apartment, searching for casualties and evacuating survivors. Inside the building that was struck, it's easy to see how deadly this attack could have been.
The destruction here is just enormous. I mean, it's hard to describe if you weren't to see these pictures. Everything is covered in dust and soot. And this right here is the building's gym, or what once was the gym.
But while the people evacuating this building are shaken, they are alive.
5 minutes ago, we finished up scanning the entire building from bottom to top and take every mine.
The safe rooms seem to be making your job a lot easier.
Oh, yeah, well, they save life, so it's very easy to see that.
Right.
Save life, you get in, 99% that you are safe.
But as one war spills into another, danger still lies ahead. Jeremy Diamond, CNN, Tel Aviv.
So as President Trump weighs his options, global affairs analyst Barak Ravid tells CNN that Israel believes Trump will end up joining the conflict. Here's why.
Israeli officials I talk to still think that Trump eventually is going to join this war, especially because they don't believe that there's any diplomatic solution that can be achieved. They don't think that Donald Trump's minimum can meet Ali Khamenei's maximum. And that's why they think that even if it's going to take another few days, maybe 2 weeks that Donald Trump spoke about today, at the end of the day, Donald Trump will end up joining this war to eliminate the Iranian nuclear program. Israel had a list of targets and a timetable to bomb each one of them. I think right now they're ahead of schedule. From what I hear, the targets that they have will be exhausted in the next few days, including the nuclear program. I think what's left, every day that passes leaves the facility in Fordo as the big thing that is left to destroy. And I think what the US wants to see is how much can Israel get in those few days, or maybe in those 2 weeks that Donald Trump was talking about. And the Israelis, on the other hand, also say, we want to see how much we can do before Donald Trump goes in. So the Israelis have a plan for another few days of bombings. the Trump administration has a plan for another few days of diplomacy. I think it's going to meet, those two timetables are going to meet sometime next week.
And joining me now to discuss this from Tel Aviv is Alon Pinkas, former Israeli Consul General in New York. Good to see you again. Thanks so much for being here with us. So just to start, do you agree with what we just heard there, that President Trump will eventually join the war?
Good morning, Kim. I believe that this is what Israel's wishful thinking state of mind is. I believe that this is what Mr. Netanyahu wanted all along. I believe that he's trying to lure, Mr. Netanyahu is trying to lure Trump into this war. But at the same time, President Trump is subject to a different analysis and different risk calculations and cost-benefit considerations, and so he's taking his time. Now, by the way, this urgency about the U.S. imminently joining and dropping 2 GBU-57 bunker busters, that's a creation of the Israeli media, fed by the Israeli government. I'm not saying it's true or not. I'm not saying it's going to happen or not. I'm just saying this timetable was artificially manufactured by Israel, trying to exert pressure on President Trump. Right now, Barak Avid said a moment ago in the previous segment that the targets list is exhausting itself. Basically, it's done. In the last 2-3 days, the war has settled into a pattern of attrition that's pretty predictable. A cycle of Israeli attacks during the day and Iranian missile barrages or fusillades during the night or early morning. And unless the U.S. intervenes, which could constitute a game changer, could, not necessarily, we're looking at just 2, 3, 4 more days of these kind of exchanges, but no breakthrough.
You talked about Netanyahu luring Trump into the war. I mean, this isn't the first time Israel has tried to drag an American president into attacking Iran.
No, this is it's not. Not only is it not the first time, it's a consistent feature, a permanent feature, in fact. With Mr. Netanyahu. He's been trying to sell the idea of attacking Iran and militarily dismantling or destroying or annihilating their military nuclear program for the better part of the last 30 years. Every time he was prime minister, there was an American president. First, it was Bill Clinton in the late 90s, and then it was Barack Obama, and then it was Joe Biden, and now it's Donald Trump. Well, twice Donald Trump, given his 2 terms. So he's been trying to do this for a very, very long time, which, by the way, I don't need to tell you, is the source of the pushback or the opposition that Mr. Trump is hearing from his MAGA base inside Washington and outside of Washington, that he is being considered some kind of an outsourcing contractor for Israel's foreign policy. I mean, this is not me saying this is Tucker Carlson or Steve Bannon saying that. And so I think that when Trump says 2 weeks, he did not say in 2 weeks. He said within 2 weeks, which means that it could either be a deception, and the U.S. could intervene in the next 3 hours. But it could also mean that he's going to take his time.
Yeah.
If he does take his time, I think those pressures that we just spoke about, domestic political, are going to increase, not decrease.
Yeah. But there are diplomatic talks today in Geneva involving Iran and several other nations. But ultimately, you've argued the power to actually end the conflict between Israel and Iran lies basically with Donald Trump.
Yeah. With Donald Trump, and we've not used that country's name frequently enough, China, because look, one of the scenarios that Mr. Trump heard from his generals is that in retaliation for an American intervention, Iran may try and block or mine the entire Straits of Hormuz. Through the Strait of Hormuz, 25% of the world's oil and around 20 or 21% of the world's liquefied natural gas passes. Much of that goes to China. Iran is considered by the Chinese an ally. So I could see the Chinese in the next few days trying to press Trump, as will the Saudi Arabians, who don't want this uncertainty, unpredictability, and instability. But yeah, you're right. In the end, it's up to Trump. He can end this war within 24 hours if he so chooses to. Unlike Ukraine, where he promised 24 hours, he can actually do this now.
Yeah, great comparison there. So many implications for the entire world here. Really appreciate getting your analysis on this. Alon Pinkas, thank you so much.